Hi everyone! I am so excited to see you. It is not a coincidence that you and I are sharing this moment right now. Do you know I've been working as a medium for over 25 years, and my eyes are so wide open right now and focused on this deep inner need of an awakening. Like life is consciously connecting to all that is. So I've decided to create the Lighter Side Network, where each show and each host reminds us how the everyday meets the extraordinary. Be it in the realm of mindfulness and healthy living, having an empowered and authentic life with humor, trusting your intuition and communicating with beyond, energy healing and releasing unconscious obstacles, astrology, living in your joy and truth, and so much more. Join us as we share our knowledge and experiences with you. We're going to have so much fun.
Hi everybody, my name is Laura Boone.
Hi, my name is Ursula Lentini.
Hey everyone, I'm Darshana Patel.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Karin.
Join me on my show.
Are you ready? Only on the Lighter Side Network.
Only on the Lighter Side Network.
The Lighter Side Network, where the everyday meets the extraordinary. That's us. Hi Lumineers, welcome to the Lighter Side Show. I'm your host, Jamie Butler, the Everyday Medium. Today we're going to talk about emotional intelligence with Neo Sandja. But before we get there, I have some housekeeping notes. Get excited! So you guys keep asking for classes and content and information, community building. Well, we've got it. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or just head straight over to our website, jamiebutlermedium.com, and that will have all the events, classes, and everything listed for you. We do have the Love and Light Institute, which is hosting a 1.5-day retreat in June. We hope to see you there for it. Please check it out. It's based on peace and rejuvenation and pause. It's going to be awesome. I will be there the whole time. Come play with us. And our guest today, Neo, is doing a give back with the Love and Light Institute over in Suite 10, the Center for Love and Light, on May 11th. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing here and you are local to Atlanta or not, drive on in, come check out Neo. So beyond that, guys, if you want to know anything and everything that's happening, sign up to the newsletter, and you can find that newsletter on the jamiebutlermedium.com website. Okay, now, emotional intelligence. Have you heard of that word lately? It's kind of like a big buzz, but we're going to really figure out where it's coming from. Now, before even Neo opens his mouth, you can find out more about him on his website, Neo Sandja, that's Sandja, and we're going to link that below in the description, .com, where you can find out where he's lecturing, where he's showing up, what kind of business consulting that you have, and also personal consulting. And it's all based on emotional intelligence, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Most of it, yes.
Okay, now you have a long history, and you've written an incredible book. I have it behind you. Right Mind, Wrong Body. And it kind of looks a little mangled, guys, because I carried it with me for a really long time as I read it. So the pages are all wrinkled and folded.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's loved.
Yeah.
And it's a good book. Like,
Thank you.
I couldn't put it down. Now, granted, the first half of the book is your story.
My story, and then the rest.
Where you came from. I mean, the rest was learning. The rest was like...
the lessons I've learned through my transition.
Yeah, my head had to grow to fit it. It was amazing. So the first half, I couldn't put it down. And the second half, I had to take in like tiny chunks because it was amazing information, the way that you found it, created it for yourself.
Right.
You know, a lot of books that I read, people are talking about who they learned from. You know, I studied under such and such, or this was my method, this was my technique, and they kind of describe how they found it in themselves per that technique.
Right.
And there was nothing of that in your book. It was all what I found. This is how I came across it. And it was totally brand new as you were finding it for yourself, which made it exciting to turn the page and go, oh my God, and that's how he did that. Look, I just got goosebumps. I love that.
Yeah.
So how did you come into even the term emotional intelligence, and how are you using it?
Well, I first I learned about emotional intelligence after my transition, like within the first 3 months of my transition. And as I was learning more about the trans community and the things that I needed to do to move forward with my medical transition, I realized that it was important that I personally focus on the inside, on my spiritual self, because it was getting, I needed to find a balance between the hormone replacement therapy and my financial situation and my romantic situation and so everything was overwhelmed. So what I did was I took a 90 days mental and spiritual fast away from all that, just to be myself and to find myself, because I knew that it's a step.
So you took 90 days.
90 days.
3 months.
3 months
Away from what?
away
Like
from
life?
away from change my diet, away from sex, away from dating, away from alcohol, away from watching the news, away from watching TV. And I mean, I still lived my life. I still went to work. I still did all the things that I needed to do to survive. But I wanted to find a certain mental clarity in the sense of the difference between it's easy to say this is happening to me because of testosterone, or this is happening to me because I'm transitioning. And I know also that the first time I took my shot, my first shot as a trans man,
Yeah.
that I would never go back to who I was. So it was important for me to remember that time as an impactful and an important time. So I started learning. That's when I came across emotional intelligence, and for myself, and that's how I understood that it's very important not only for the trans community but for men in general, whether those men are transgender or cisgender.
Okay,
And
what does cisgender mean?
cisgender means non-trans, like you. Cisgender means a person that was born in that are a person that is comfortable with their assigned gender at birth.
But before we get into emotional intelligence, I wanted to get some clarity on is gender identity the same as sex identity?
Well, as a trans man, starting from the beginning, let's say I was assigned female at birth,
Okay.
based on my genitals, based on the biology of
Your body.
the sex, biologically speaking, and the material, the world we live in speaking, not the mind, not the spirits, not sort of the basic of what we see, the five senses, or what. So that's the sex part. That's the biology part, and so I never say I used to be a woman and now I'm a man. I never say that because I've never felt that I've ever been a woman or a girl. It's just that my body was,
Your body
and
was.
people saw me as that, and so I moved to the back to the world and was socialized as a girl. But I've always been a guy. So gender identity is who you know you are, what your gender is, as you move to the world.
And that would be mental, that would be emotional, that
Right.
would be spiritual.
Right.
All of that creates the gender identity.
Exactly, and which is actually comes before sexual orientation, because a lot of people understand sexual orientation today better than understand gender identity, because sexual orientation is who you are attracted to, romantically or sexually, but a lot of people don't realize that you know your gender before you know your sexual orientation. Like nobody has, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
like
Right.
nobody has to tell you to look between your legs to go, yep, I'm a girl, I'm a boy. You just know as a kid, you just know based on the things you do. It's just things you know before you even know sexual orientation, because as a kid you're not thinking about attraction. You just move through the world as who you are first. So gender identity comes before even sexual orientation.
So I was wondering if you could take a moment, since we have you in studio, and maybe you can help myself and help the Lumineers and the viewers, if you could walk us through pronoun usage, because I know in our culture today it's changing drastically when we refer to transgender men and women. Is it he, she, z? Because it is not the way I'm going. People are people to me, but I want to give them the utmost respect and how they view themselves. Is it polite to ask someone? You know,
Actually, it's better to ask somebody because it's better than assuming.
I like that.
Now, for me as a trans man, I go by he. I go by all the masculine pronouns. Most trans women will go by she and all the feminine pronouns. And where it gets a little complicated is not complicated, but complex. Is you also have people that identify as two spirits or gender non-conforming or not binary, and they will use either or they will use they, or like you said, z, and that's where I think it's best to ask a person.
So it's not considered rude,
No.
just to simply go, wait, how do I
Right.
address you?
Right. If you see somebody that you go, I don't know, is that a girl or a guy, and are they transitioning or not, or are they just androgynous? Then you can say, what pronouns would you like me to use for you? And they might actually appreciate that very much, because it's better than saying, sir, and then go, oh, sorry, ma'am, oh, sorry, sir, like, what, because maybe by apologizing, like I've at the beginning of my transition, for example, I went to a place and they said, sir, and I smiled. And then they looked at my D, oh, sorry, ma'am. And I was like, oh, great. All right. So it's better to ask than to assume. So
I like that rule
Yeah.
of thumb.
Yeah.
That I can do. That fits in my world quite well. So I wanted to get back when you were talking about removing yourself for the 90 days and to get a better understanding of how you came to that conclusion that it would give you maybe the results you were looking for or the insight or knowledge. Like in your book, you talk a lot about religion and about having faith and about God in general and praying, and it was really beautiful. And I come to think a lot of the struggles with transgender and being in religion and how it's not often accepted by the Bible,
Right.
by the congregation and so forth. And you talked about those struggles. But like, did you remove yourself from the church as well and find faith in you during this time? I guess I'm like surfing for my question, which is terrible, but
Well, I didn't remove myself from the church. What I did is I took a step into a different perspective. Because another thing I did that time, and that did not last 90 days, it lasted the whole year, was reading the Bible back to back. I did a whole Bible reading program for that year because I wanted to understand what I believe in and I wanted to understand what I believe in, and I wanted to have a conversation with people about what they thought they believe in that they could use against me, for example, right, and against the trans community or the LGBT community in general. And so basically that year was about self-awareness and knowledge and understanding. And for me, it's important to do that. And at that time, I knew that how easily it could have been to be lost because it's easy to see that in the trans community where we focus on our physical transition, we focus on the surgeries, we focus on getting the six packs and finally being buff and being going to the gym, and we focus on sex and dating, and we focus on getting the money together to make sure we get all the surgeries, but we don't focus on the spiritual aspect and the emotional aspect, and so
Was there any support at that time that you were going through this in your community that talked about the emotional and the spiritual and the inner aspect of it? Or was it like, there you go, Neo, go for it?
and that's interesting because it's my therapist was learning from me about what it is to be trans, and I found an LGBT affirming church that did not have any trans people. That they made me create a trans educational program as well. So I feel that it's kind of like even me writing the book and a lot of things in my life is I learn by teaching or I learn by doing. I learn by wanting it for myself first, and then I let people know about it.
I was going to say, a lot of the themes in the book, when you're telling your stories, you were put in the position of leader before you even knew how to lead
Right.
yourself.
Right.
It was like, oh no, you start this program.
Right.
You lead the therapist. Now you help these people. Now you count, like you
Yeah.
go and you counsel and you.
Yeah.
It was like, how did he not fall apart? As I'm reading the book, I'm like, how is he still here? How did, and when I got into the later half of it and it talks about the emotional intelligence and really getting into the energies
Right.
of it, it made more sense of why you didn't fall apart. It's because of what you were learning from it.
And at the time I didn't know I was learning from it, and so that's why I said when I came across emotional intelligence itself, as I got immersed in it, because it's like I got very passionate in it about it, because I started to understand some of my moments where I could have given up, but I was resilient. The resiliency, and I also started to understand some of the moments that I could have done better, if I was more aware of my emotions at the time. Because yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you broke down emotional intelligence into 4 parts.
Yeah.
And self-awareness was one of them.
And it has to begin with that. It has to begin with self-awareness before you can do self-management, right? You have to be aware of what needs to be managed. And then you have social awareness, which is being aware of your environment, being aware of people around you, understanding that it's not just about you. It's also about other people, how they feel, and why do they feel a certain way or react a certain way around you. And then it's relationship management. Once you're aware of yourself, then you can manage yourself. Once you're aware of other people, then you can manage your relationships with them better. So that's...
I want to know how you got it down to emotional intelligence. I mean, you could have gone, Neo, you could have gone down the path of, oh, we've got to be smart about this. We have to be intelligent about this. We've got to be heady. There's so many different ways you
Because
could
I
have
feel
it.
like I meet people based on where they see me in my life. They think I'm either a very logical, analytic, stoic, get things done type of person, or they think I'm a very spiritual and deep and philosophical and healing and emotional person. And so I think the emotional intelligence kind of put all that together. Like, it doesn't have to be either or. It has to be, you can be emotional in a logical way.
You can be,
Because you can say, let's be smart.
You could be emotional in a logical way. It can be smart.
Right.
Okay, can you define emotional intelligence for us?
For me, it's the ability to assess, manage, and control my emotions. And by control, I don't mean restrict. I mean choose. Choose what to do with your emotions, because you cannot. It's like emotions. It's like water. It flows. It's like I had a mentor that says emotion is energy in motion. It flows. You can't restrict it, just kind of like you can restrict water, because when you do, then it's kind of like it will block, it will stop, and then it will create like a dam. Like, have you ever seen like a dam that builds up with water, and then it will either burst or it will attract gnats and fleas and it starts stinking. It's the same thing with emotions, right? It's like I'm angry, but I'm gonna be passive aggressive about it, or I'm gonna ignore it because it's bad. Emotion intelligence is not restricting your quote unquote negative or positive emotion. Is being aware. Okay, I'm pissed off right now, and I'm gonna tell my partner I'm really angry. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go take a walk, or I'm gonna go to the gym, or whatever. It helps you, and you come back and you realize, yeah, I was pretty pissed off, and I'm okay now. But at least you're honest with yourself, with your humanity, with your simpleness. You know, because we think we have to be better all the time. We have to fix things. We have to be spiritual all the time. But it's okay to be other things like emotion. But once you accept it, you manage it, you deal with it, and you move on.
I like that your emotional intelligence requires honesty.
Yes, it has to. Yeah.
So when you're self-aware and you can maintain it, manage it,
Right.
and control it or have choice around it,
Right.
it requires you to be honest with it.
Mm-hmm.
So have you found yourself in a position, I know some of our Lumineers talk about it, where they want to apply the honesty of emotions or the emotional intelligence in a situation, but they don't feel like they can. You know, they feel like there's a trap, or they don't feel safe or comfortable to be able to be vulnerable in that way. Because a lot of people that I come across, when they talk about being emotionally honest, they talk about being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But-
And it's come from a place of what has helped me is meditation, for example, because in meditation, or it's part of self-awareness, it teaches you to be okay with yourself, no matter how messed up you might be. Because by not wanting to be vulnerable to other people, it means that you are not willing to look at yourself in the mirror for yourself first.
Oh my God, look straight into camera A and just say that one more time, because that was that was beautiful.
I don't remember what I said.
That's we're making T-shirts. Quick, get online.
What is that? I think I said yeah. But
That hits it though.
yeah.
That expresses it for so many people, that you're not capable of being vulnerable with yourself.
All right.
So when you do one-on-one with people, are you talking to them about emotional intelligence? Are
Yeah.
you helping them bring that into their everyday awake life?
Yes, that's always the first thing I talk about. Because I have even people that come to me, they want coaching on like starting a business, or like things that relate to the outside, to the practical ways of doing things, or being more organized, or having steps, or how to like all those like practical ways basically. But it doesn't matter if you want to be a doctor, an accountant, a spiritual leader. Everything as a human being, once you have emotional intelligence as the base, the foundation of who you are as a person, then everything flows from it. It's like it's not even the spirit, because the spirit is there no matter what. It's like there's even people that are focused on religion can sometimes do it in a way that is not emotional intelligence, and they forget that even the Bible says, guard your heart. With all else, guard your heart, because everything flows from it. Everything flows from your emotions. Because you think about something, and before you know it, you feel a certain emotion. Like, you forgot, but you don't realize you thought about it. And then you feel a certain way. And then you go, And that, like that's action, right? It can be twitching. It can be with pacing. It can be, and then aware. You keep drifting, and then you end up breaking something or fighting, and then you end up kicked out of the house because you broke something. Like the result, like it goes from the thought to your feelings to your actions to your result, and but a lot of time we don't even think through that process because that thought can come so quick. This
Right.
is why meditation and being self-aware, it's not even about other people, being vulnerable to other people. It's about you, because if you're self-aware, then other people's thought, emotions, action, whatever should not trigger you. When they do, you should be able to know, what is it about this person or what they say? Because sometimes we don't even know what triggers us about people. Sometimes it can be something that happened to you when you were 6. Your uncle that you hated at the same cologne, and you meet this dude that is the same cologne, and you go, I just don't like this guy. And it says something that reminds you of what happened this morning in traffic, and you just get pissed off. And it goes from there, and then we're not aware basically of how complex and yet so simple we are as humans.
I know without that awareness, we miss so much of what life is showing or giving or guiding. So I can imagine with the self-awareness, all of a sudden the support, the messages, the community starts coming forward when this light is shining bright.
Yeah, because then you realize it's not about me. This is why I say the vulnerability thing. I have to be able to take time to make it about me, so that I can find myself, so that I can accept myself, so that I can love myself, especially as a person that, for lack of a better word, like hated myself most of my life, right? I have to find a time to be there, to find that selfish moment. It's be vain, and even like look at myself in the mirror and say, wow, Neo, you're handsome. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to make you know what I mean? Because you can't love other people unless you love yourself. And even one of the things that I had to learn with the conflict between the LGBT community and religion is that that's the thing that's missing in religion, is that you can't love God unless you love yourself, because God is a reflection of yourself, right? It's a mirror. They say God created man to his image, or no matter what religion you believe in, there's still that reflection of God in us. So it's like if you look at yourself as a person and you don't like what you see, then it's difficult to share yourself with other people. And so to go back to your question about how to encourage people to be more self-aware and more vulnerable, it's basically that, like that foundation, that the vulnerability. What I found is that vulnerability is actually it's strength. There is actually more strength in being vulnerable, because you have nothing to hide, and and it comes from a freeing place and from a loving place. And as long as it comes from a loving place, you're not only always protected, right, but you also in a place where you know that I give everything, and I'm okay. You're a place where you can go home and sleep and say, I'm okay, no matter what happens, no matter where you find yourself, because you gave yourself in an honest way. It's integrity, basically.
I love that.
Vulnerability is integrity.
And strength.
Right.
I like to define it as strength. You know,
Right.
when Lumineers talk about it and about being vulnerable and honest, emotionally honest,
Right.
that I tell them that is the strongest muscle that you have. You know, and then once it's out there, there is nothing that can be done on it.
Right.
Like, it is so secure and protected. When you think it's going to be torn apart, it can't.
Right.
It's ultimately who you are.
Exactly. And that's why emotional intelligence is important, especially not just for trans community, but for men and masculinity, right?
Tell me more about
Because of the vulnerability aspect of, even when you talk about emotion, it sounds like such a feminine word. People go, oh, you're being emotional. Or,
That
don't be
is true.
emotional.
They do
right?
label it as-
like things like that. And it's because we still live in a world that is practical, and practicality and the five senses and what you can see, touch, and all this stuff that's a very masculine energy. This is why we live in a world that is pretty much like a patriarchal society
Yeah.
type of world, because the masculine energy like to define and to find solution and to fix things and things like that, and feminine energy flows and heals and understand and have compassion and feels, and these are things you can't necessarily see or feel
Right, or
through the five
contain.
senses, right? And that's like the spiritual, the
intuitive.
emotional world versus the world, the earth.
Are you seeing that men today are becoming more balanced and having equal parts of
Yes, yeah, I think so.
masculine, feminine? I'm noticing it quite a bit with women. Of course, I think we've had, well, I won't go down that road.
But I do feel that, yeah, I do feel more are becoming more accepting and loving of their feminine side, and I think that's very important to heal the world, and I think that the things that we see in the world, that you have to choose to see behind what you see, because what you see is simple, right?
Choose to see
Behind what you actually think you see, right?
what you think you see.
Right.
Behind the
Right.
the preconceived logic, the
Right.
what you've been taught.
Behind the five senses, behind the illusion, because this is the way it is, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's education, whether it's
So the indoctrination of
Right.
everything that we've been told that is, and that you
Right.
have to accept it as that.
right. You have to choose to see behind that, right? Because what you see is now, it's here, but you might not see the purpose. Everything you see serves a purpose, but there's always a bigger purpose. Like for example, if you see the world today as, how did we get here? It's like, oh my gosh, it's doomsday, it's the end of the world, and but the purpose is also that you have to go to the extreme to understand the extreme of duality before you can find the balance. You have to see the worst before you can understand that, wow, this is bad, this is the worst, then you can find it.
So what's interesting, what you just said made me remember in a reading one time I was working with a client, and the word balance came up. And my client was so hung up on having balance look like a seesaw.
Yeah.
And equal weight had to be on each side, and it had to be flat for it to be balanced. And in the session, the spirit who was communicating said, well, here's another way of looking at balance. Let's look at your entire life, or let's just look at this week,
Alright.
and let's put you on a roller coaster. And let's let you have highs and lows and highs and lows, but then let's take the average of it. And the average of it is right in the middle.
Right.
That is balance. So they were talking about how balance can have an ebb and flow feeling, which was more of a feminine, intuitive, rather than a flat line, equal weights on either side, which is more of a controlled masculine feeling.
Exactly.
And I was like, God, that really opened me up in looking at words that we use every day, that there can be a more masculine association
Alright.
and a more feminine association
Right.
to it.
And it's like, and that relates to masculine, feminine, good emotions, bad emotions, being logical, being emotional. And I like to say it's like it's balance, but it's like people, because the thing that people get hung up on when they talk about balance is that they think they have to constantly find a place where they're neutral, where they're neither or. Instead of, I like to think about balance in terms of harmony. Harmony sounds like a better word than balance if you think about it, because then it flows, because harmony is not a constant thing that's there. Because balance, if you put something on the scale,
Right.
balance is like bam, it's there. It doesn't move anymore. That's when you stop moving,
You get
then
stagnant.
you find the balance, right? But harmony is, yeah, I have my lows, I have my ups, I have my downs, but I'm moving and I'm flowing, and it's okay.
I'm curious to know, how did emotional intelligence guide you, save you, help you?
Basically after, or I won't say after my transition because you never end transitioning, right? But during my transition, but after learning about emotional intelligence, I realized that I was finally able to, I'm not perfect. I still sometimes, but I was finally able to detach myself enough to be attached. Basically, I'm able to finally take a step back, see a perspective, and then get involved. Because it's like if, for example, if I want to care about the trans community and I get into a room with people that need a lot of help and healing and guidance, it's easy to get lost because I will get all that energy because I didn't even know what an empath was, and I realized that I can walk in a room and I go,
That's you.
"Why am I pissed off?" And then it took me a while to go, "It's not me, it's you. It's your stuff that I'm picking up because I was fine before, and so I had to learn to like protect myself So emotional intelligence also helped me kind of see that on a logical perspective, not just the energy that I'm picking up, but the things that people do and say, and I go, maybe they're saying that because they're hurt, or maybe they're saying that because their life is this way, or maybe they're saying that because instead of making it about me, like why are they doing that? Now I understand that even the saying hurt people. It's okay to say, you know what, I shouldn't be offended because maybe they're hurt, maybe they need love, and go
I
ahead.
like listening to you because you're not making the assumption of what they're feeling.
Right.
Like even in your language, when you're just chatting about the situation, you're like, maybe they feel,
Right.
and maybe it's
I
like
can't
that,
assume. Alright.
just the core of you, how it wants to ask the question and get the guidance straight from the source rather
Right.
than the assumptions,
Yeah.
like far beyond.
Yeah, and that's actually part of emotional intelligence, to never assume, because a lot of time we can make bad decision because we assume. We either we generalize, or it's generalization is assumption basically, because you can say, for example, I met I met an Indian lady today, and I asked her a question and she slapped me. And then you move in the world thinking Indian ladies slap people. Like that's just, people do that. Or you were 5 or 6 years old, something happened to you, and then your whole life, you go, this is what life is. This is what it's about. We do that all the time. So, and then another thing we do is we delete information, or we distort them to make it what we want it to be versus what it is.
So that goes back to challenging the awareness and the honesty.
Right. Like stopping in your tracks and asking yourself, why do I think that?
So
Why do I believe that? Why do I feel that?
When you're in sessions with people, do you help them walk through that process and kind of make that part of their foundation to ask the questions to themselves?
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of time I listen to the person and I ask them a question, and ask, why do you think that, or why do you think that will help?
Well,
And you'll be surprised how much people can find a solution to their own problem if you ask the right questions, because it forces them to stop and think and to dig deeper. And sometimes I go, yeah, that was stupid. I don't know why I said that, because it's like we just go into these things and you go, well, people don't like me. I'm like, oh, why do you think that? Because blah 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 blah. Okay, so is it just that person, or do you think I don't like you? Well, most people don't like. And then we start changing, and then eventually they go, yeah, that person don't like me, but it shouldn't define my life. That's dumb, right? Because we do that to ourselves. We like, I'm gonna carry all this baggage this today, and then you realize it's not that serious if you just stop and take one layer at a time, and you know.
no, I'm just, sorry, I'm enthralled. I have all these visuals. It's like the same when I was reading your book. I could see so clearly what you were describing or saying, just down to the details. So, Lumineers, if you really like what you're listening to and you'd like to get to know Neo a little bit more, check out his website, neosandja.com. And check out his amazing book, Right Mind, Wrong Body. Where can
On Amazon.
Thank you. Amazon. I was lucky enough to have mine signed by the author, and I didn't go on Amazon, but I love my Amazon. Please go check it out. And it's not just for
It's not just for trans people.
No.
Anybody can learn from it.
it's beautiful. Well, is there
Thank you.
any like golden nugget or something that you would like to leave in the hands of the Lumineers before we say goodbye?
Let's see.
So many. How's that for putting you on the
I
spot?
know. I'm like, how much time we have? I don't know. Any golden nuggets? Let's see. Well, I would say that the first thing is always question everything. That's where awareness comes, because once you question everything, it forces you to relate it back to you and back to how you have that information. Why do you believe what you believe? And if it's helpful or not, because some information can be more damaging than empowering. And so the first step to self-awareness is asking questions. So always ask questions.
It's kind of hard to end on that note. You're like challenging me to ask some questions right now, and I've got plenty. So it's sad to say, Lumineers, we're going to turn off the cameras, but then I'm going to hold Neo hostage on stage for a little bit and ask more questions. What? How can I be so mean?
Well, thank you.
No,
It was
thank
great.
you so much for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable enough,
Thank you.
strong enough to be honest, just with yourself, and in return being a big guiding light to the rest of us.
Yeah.
And no matter what stage or phase that we're in, everybody's making a transition in some sort of way, not to compare greater or lesser. We all have our internal struggles. Start here, Right Mind, Wrong Body. It's just an amazing read, guys. So take care, Lumineers. Thank you so much for lending me your ears. And remember, it's not woo-woo, it's true-true. See ya.